We're now going to have a look at activity 4, which is using spreadsheet software. The first thing you're going to do is open up the sales spreadsheet, and this is what you'll see. And the first thing they ask is to enter our task name and candidate number in the footer. For that, we go to the page layout view, and as you scroll down, you will see we have 3 boxes here in the footer. So you're going to type in task SS1, followed by your name and center number. I don't recommend that you create or edit the spreadsheet in this view. Um, for that, we'll go back to our normal view. Okay. The first part of the question says that he wants to improve the layout of the spreadsheet. The first thing is to merge A1 to I1. So we take A1 and we drag across to I1, and we have our merge and center button. Next, it says to enter the title Theo John's Sales, like so, and they want it bold size 20. So we go to our size 20 and we change it to bold. Now you can see that we can't really see the full title, so what we need to do is to change the size. There are 2 ways. The first way, you can drag it to make it fit, or if you double click, it will choose the best fit for you. The next part of the question is to format the title in row 3 and make them bold and centered. Row 3, these are the titles, these are labels. They want them to make them again bold and centered, like so. Next part of the question, format the cells C4 to H15 so their contents will be centered. So we find C4 to H15 and center, like so. Okay, now the next part is to make sure the appropriate borders and shading and appropriate column widths and row heights so all the data is visible. We've already done the title, but as you can see, these here, they don't fit. So we can use the same style. We can either drag it across or we can double click to make everything fit. You can highlight everything and double click, and as you can see, everything just goes to best fit. Borders and shading. For borders and shading, what I recommend is to make the title stand out. We have a black background. Now, obviously, we've got to change the color of the font to white so we can see it. And the titles, we can put those in about 40% gray. And for the borders, we select our borders option and we select all borders. And that is borders and shading and the widths and row heights completed. For the next part of the question, it says enter the prices in column B using the information from the table. For this, we have a look at our post. We find our post, 22p. Okay, make sure you have your decimal place in there. Okay, now we have the information in. It says format the price column to currency and ensure they're displayed with the pound sign to do decimal places. So for this, we highlight our data, change it to currency. Okay, the next part of the question is you need to save the document as task SS1 and print it on A4 showing the data view. Make the page landscape and make sure all the data is visible. Do not show grid lines and do not show the row and column headers. Okay, so we're going to change the column headings and the grid lines first. For that, we go to our page layout and we have the option here, grid lines and the headers. It says do not show the grid lines and do not show the column, row and headers. So for that, you just make sure that there's no tick in these 2 boxes here, grid lines and headings. For printing, just make sure that in your page layout, the orientation is specified to landscape. Next, you highlight the information that you want to print, and when you select File and Print, you make sure that you have Print Selection checked. If you have an issue and it goes across the page, you can scale it to fit on one page. This is usually helpful. Okay, once you've printed, we can move on to task SS2. The first part is to change the footer in your spreadsheet. Again, we go to page layout, change this task SS, so it's SS2. There. Next, we change back to normal view. Let's zoom in a bit so we can see this. Okay, Jonathan wants to use a spreadsheet for calculations. Enter a formula in H4 to calculate the sales of the post during the week. Now, I'm going to show you a way how not to do it. I see it on many occasions. It does work, but it won't get you the full marks in the exam. I see many people go for equals C4 plus D4 plus E4 plus F4 plus G4. Now, it does work, but this is not the correct way to add the formula. The correct function is using the sum, and we only put the reference of the first and the last cell reference in there, C4 to G4, to get our answer. For the income, it gives us our answer here. It says income is sales times price. Again, we use our cell references. Formulas always begin with an equal sign. Price, which is B4, times sales in H4. Next part, it says replicate the formula for the other newspapers. All we have to do is highlight our cells and we can use the fill like so. Next, it says we need to enter a formula to calculate the total income for the week. So we look for our income, and the most logical place to put this total would be under the income column here. Again, we use our equals sum, I4 to I15, and it says enter a suitable label for the total in an appropriate cell. So we have two choices here really. We can have the total in here, or we can have it further back here to keep all the labels on the side. Now, Jonathan wants to know also the average sales figures for each day, Monday through Friday. Enter a formula using a function to calculate the average sales on Monday. So what we can do in this instance is add the average down here, and we're going to go to equals average. And again, you highlight the range, which is C4 to C15. That is the average sales on Monday. Copy this formula across to other days of the week, Monday through Friday. Now we're going to sort the table in alphabetical order of newspaper. To sort, we have to highlight the information. Again, I see the incorrect way, which a lot of people just highlight the newspaper. This is not the correct way to do it. If you sort it by newspaper and you sort these, they will not relate to their corresponding details. So we have to highlight everything in the table, and we go to data and we hit this sort button here. And they want it sorted in alphabetical order of newspaper. So we go to newspaper, we have ascending, alphabetical, select OK. Now we can see all the newspapers, they are in alphabetical order. Okay, now for this printing, it's going to be slightly different because they want to show the formula view, make the page landscape, and make sure the columns are wide enough to display the data. And this time we're going to show the grid lines and the row and column headers. So let's go ahead and do that first. We go to our page layout. We want to show the grid lines and their headings. We're going to make the page landscape, which it already setting is. And we're going to print on one sheet of A4 showing only the formulas. So to show the formulas, we go to our Formulas tab, click on the Show Formulas button, and you will notice that the columns will change width. Now, what we usually do is we need to bring these back because as you can see, we can't see the full formulas here, and you're going to be printing this, so they can't see the full formula here, so you probably wouldn't get any marks for that question, even though you got the correct function. Okay, so you want to highlight all the columns, and then on any one of them, double click I'm going to highlight all the columns, and on any one of the two, in between the two, you double click, and you'll notice that it will snap everything to fit. And again, we're going to print the same. We're going to highlight everything that we want to print. You can see here that the page doesn't quite fit. This is the cutoff. So we'll have a look at that in our setup. File, print. Now again, make sure you click on print selection, and then we can scale it to fit on one page. And now that is ready for print. We have the grid lines, and we also have the headings. Okay, for task SS3, Jonathan has recorded the income from some of the items in the shop over a 4-week period. He's entered the data in a spreadsheet called weekly sales. This is the weekly sales. He would like to present some of the information as a graph. He wants to pin the graph to a notice board in the shop. Now, this means that he wants it on a full page landscape. Create a graph which compares the sales figures for each item for week 1 and week 4. Do not include the totals. Enter a suitable title and axis labels. Okay, so we're looking for week 1 and week 4. So we need our items. You hold down the control button on the keyboard, push it down now, and then you highlight week 1 and week 4. Now we go to our inserts, and the most suitable type would probably be a column bar chart. And for this, we need to enter in our axis labels. Okay, we also need to make sure we have our legend, so we can see week 1 and week 4. We need our legend as we're comparing these together. To insert our chart elements, we go to axis, titles, we have primary horizontal. So at the bottom, we put our axis, which is items, and we also need to add the vertical title. These are the sales. Okay, and every chart needs to have an appropriate title. Here is the sales figures for week 1 and week 4. So we have here sales figures for week 1 and week 4. Oops. Okay, now I always recommend for charts, we always move them to a new sheet. So for that, we go to chart, move to a new sheet. And that way we can have it on our worksheets tab like so. Once you've done this, it asks you to copy and paste it into the task SS3 that you created up here. So for that, you just copy, right click, copy, and paste. Make sure that our orientation is landscape and it fits over the entire page like so. Once you've done that, it is ready to print.